As he slowly opened his eyes, a flood of sharp, painful memories crashed into him, warring with the confusion in his mind, and he realized he was lying on a rooftop with a pounding headache and the air smelling like rot. Disoriented, he shouted in horror as he looked down at crowds of people moving with eerie stiffness, finally understanding that they had turned into zombies. Panicked, he frantically patted his pockets for his phone to call for help, but instead found only a small packet of peanuts he had bought at the supermarket, which made him think that after finishing them, he might as well die and wish he had had a girlfriend first. Just then, the rooftop door creaked open and a girl in shorts and a t-shirt stepped out. His heart leaped as he peeked over and realized the zombies had already reached the top, meaning his life was over. But instead of attacking, the girl suddenly plunged a dagger into a water tank, soaking herself completely as she began to wash right there, leaving him stunned and mesmerized while wondering how a zombie could look so sexy and absurd before she heard a small sound, spun around to stare at him, sprinted over, and slapped him hard before pointing a gun at his forehead and demanding he talk, causing him to tremble as he begged her not to kill him. She angrily demanded to know who he was, but instead of answering, he muttered his name while his eyes shamelessly drifted down her legs. Right then, his smart chicken friend warned him that enemies were attacking outside because the forces were too strong to fight, so everyone immediately got ready for battle while the girl lunged at him with a weapon, screaming that she was going to kill him, only for a zombie to suddenly jump out from behind and attack her. She dodged quickly, but the zombie didn't stop. It crashed into Xiang and started punching him, even as he screamed in pain and begged it to stop hurting him, until a girl threw a dagger right into its eye, making the creature roar in anger. She had thrown the object, and now the zombie swung its rage at her, forcing her to realize its thick skull would stop bullets. Its injured eyes meant it swung blindly. Its small rooftop space made dodging hard, and if she kept fighting, more zombies would join soon. Its huge upper body and broken leg explained why it moved so slowly despite its strength. So as it lunged again, she pulled another saw from her wrist while Xiang warned her. She dodged and sliced off one of its arms before it could turn back, and then she quickly cut off its head. She said the zombie cores in this batch looked pretty good, while Xiang froze in terror, and the girl just groaned at her filthy clothes after she'd only just cleaned them. She turned to him and asked which side he was on, repeating the question until Xiang was too stunned to answer. Thinking the whole mess felt like a nightmare from a horror movie, he convinced himself that sleep would fix everything. But as he reached for his peanuts, he realized their taste was too real. The girl suddenly snatched the bag away, demanding to know who he was and how he had such a valuable treat, and when he nervously asked if she liked them, she ignored it and pressed a saw against his neck, proving the danger was very real. Terrified, he begged for mercy and introduced himself as just an ordinary guy named Xiang who bought his favorite snack from the supermarket. But before she could respond, a gunshot hit her leg and sent her into a panic as she muttered about mutated zombies chasing her and someone pulling strings from afar. From a distant rooftop, a sniper smirked at her survival while his partner worried she would hunt them down, only for the sniper to coldly explain that his first shot was poisoned to drain her life, and now Xiang watched her leg swell. The bullet was poisoned with a deadly zombie toxin that even her past military training couldn't save her from, and she warned that if the 17th faction caught her, they would kill her and her sister. So she urged Xiang to escape while she bought him time with smoke bombs and a final note containing her sister's location. Xiang ran while his heart was torn apart because she had just saved his life, yet he desperately wanted to go back to a world where medicine like penicillin was easy to find. So when a strange system offered him a way to shift dimensions home, he grabbed the chance immediately, only to wake up in a hospital where he frantically shouted for penicillin, while the girl he cared for lay dying on the rooftop, silently hoping he would tell her sister before the snipers watched in silence as she finally gave up her fight to live. Their leader nodded to his group and urged them to grab their treasures, while at the same time a nurse scolded Chiron for rushing down the hall until he grabbed a medicine, yelled dimensional shift, and vanished back into the broken world. He rushed over to the girl and declared she wasn't dead, but she stared at him like he had lost his mind, confused about why he had returned and how he could possibly have gotten penicillin. Chiron quickly told her he'd just grabbed it, begged her not to ask too many questions, and promised it was real penicillin that would keep them both alive before urging her to swallow the capsule. Chiron checked on her, noting that the swelling was fading and the toxins were disappearing, which made her mutter in awe about how powerful the penicillin was, only to be startled by a knock at the door that forced her to quickly shove Chiron through a hole in the roof and onto a bed below while she hid, just as the sniper and his men burst in a hunt for her. But she stood up defiantly to tell them she would have been hunting them first, leaving the group frozen in shock and panic at the sight of her still alive. After turning to run downstairs, Chiron lay on his bed, relieved that she was gone, and noticed a diary nearby, which he thought was silly nonsense until he opened it to read about a perfect day in 2008 where he admired a curly-haired woman across the street before a new manager caught his attention. Only for rumors of a virus outbreak to turn their happy routine into a terrifying quarantine where the manager got infected and attacked him. On July 24th, the virus had left most of the city in ruins and eaten up the last of the food supplies, so when the writer tried calling for help and got no answer, he knew he had to escape or starve to death before July 25th, when he finally broke the lock and stepped out into the dark streets to find something to eat. At the supermarket and the pharmacy, people were fighting fiercely over supplies. On the rainy day of August 3rd, when the TV signal died out just 2 days after the news anchor warned that rescue would never come and told people to save themselves while dismissing his promise of humanity's unbreakable spirit as a joke, August 17th brought the end of food and left him trapped in a room where leaving meant certain death by swarms of infected, forcing him to wonder how much pain it would be while he survived on tap water alone, mourned the loss of seeing manager Ba, and then heard screaming. Warren yelled at everyone to stay back and demand to know what they wanted. But when he realized it was the curly-haired lady from across the street, he panicked because shouting would only draw the zombies. And then he watched in horror as his husband stabbed her and started eating her. After 4 days of starving without food, the writer was so weak he vomited, just as he thought he was going to die, when a stranger knocked on his door asking for penicillin and gave him a huge meal in exchange for it. And the writer was shocked that this medicine worked when others had failed, realizing that getting it had truly saved his life. On August 21st, he watched in shock as someone on a balcony ate a dead zombie, unable to believe anyone could possibly swallow such a thing. It turned out to be a zombie core. On August 30th, Monster stole his only hope for survival, but by September 1st, he dragged himself out of his prison room with a knife, ready to fight for food before he starved like the others, while Chiron looked over his diary to learn that in this world, penicillin was worth more than gold and could be found easily, unlike the desperate few who searched for it. To him, this meant he'd found gold, but then the sniper boy burst in, shocked that Chiron had a whole box of penicillin, explaining why the girl was still alive. He snatched the bottle, demanded 3 rank promotions in return, and told Shang to just give up. Shurong shouted, "Wait, I have more," just as the girl rushed into the room to stop them from shooting, only for the sniper to growl at her and warn that he'd kill Shurong if she moved, but she fired back and threatened to blow his head off in a second if he dared to pull the trigger. As the noise of the battle outside grew louder, the sniper knew a horde of zombies was coming and urged his friends to let Chiron go so they could still run away, but when the girl insisted the distance was safe and ordered them to release him, the furious sniper slammed Chiron into her, while a boy nearby threatened to chop him up for his dead brothers, leaving Chiron motionless on the girl's chest as she sighed and wondered how long he would stay like that before suggesting they rest outside the zombie-infested streets while she questioned the mysterious boy about his strange supplies and hidden strength. So he wisely decided to lie and make up an excuse to keep his true identity safe. He quietly passed her a bottle of penicillin and said, "Here," and she instantly recognized it, shocked to find the whole box was a gift meant as payment for saving her life earlier. She offered him a deal. If he stayed by her side to protect her, she promised him plenty of rewards. Shang asked if she was serious, and she nodded, telling him not to be shy to take it since it wasn't just medicine. He explained he could get her even better things, listing a feast of lamb, beef, deer tails, duck, chicken, sausages, and vegetables. She stopped him cold, refusing to protect him just for food because she suspected he might belong to an enemy faction. He reassured her that he wasn't part of any group and was just a pampered boy from a luxurious world, which made her admit he looked like a spoiled young master. She accepted that she owed her life to him and agreed to the deal, saying from eating them directly gave instant energy and nutrition, while evolution potions came in 3 grades, and zombie cores could be arranged singly or in groups of 1, 3, or 9 to form energy arrays that unleashed their full power. In this ruined world, zombie cores were the only money left, and while high-tech drugs failed against the fast-changing RV virus, penicillin became priceless because the bugs needed to make it had mutated and their factories were gone, forcing survivors to band together like ancient tribes into groups like the violent 17th faction in Shingsu, who hunted women and ate flesh while connected to a monster organization in Yuzu. So when they realized the area was full of zombies and Shurong was slowing them down, she suggested they rest for the night, and he agreed. She told him to rest while she kept watch, and though Shang couldn't picture her as a tough survivor based on her face, he suddenly ordered the Emperor system to send him back to the 21st century, only to wake up feeling crushed by a girl leaning over him who asked if he was awake, causing him to beg her to get off before she chuckled and told him to be gentle, making him realize he knew her. His shocked landlord asked why she was there, and she explained that a crazy man had knocked him out, but since he listed her as his emergency contact, the doctor said he would recover soon and bills would be covered. So when he asked when she set that up, she changed the subject to feeding him noodles, teased him for being troublesome, then told him to write a list of essentials before leaving to buy them, only for her landlord Luashi to return exhausted and complain that she was tired, prompting Shurong to reflect that despite knowing she was a wealthy heiress who felt for him, his own poverty meant he could never respond to her affection. As he thought about how the emperor could travel between worlds and make a fortune, the hospital door swung open just as he finished his idea. Lashy's uncle, Uncle Shirao, walked in, and Lashy frowned at him, reminding him she'd already told him where she was, but he just said her father ordered her to bring her back for dinner. Washi said no because she was busy, but Uncle Shio wouldn't let her off the hook, insisting it was her father's direct command, so she begged him not to push her while he sent Shurong to wait downstairs. Shurong asked about the plan, and Uncle Shio waved him off to leave, only to confront him right after, insisting they'd already settled things, and wondering why Shurong still clung to Luashi despite the vast gap between them and his father's disapproval, even as Shurong boldly replied that he'd change everything if he became rich. The man sharply cut him off, claiming every dog gets its day. Yet judging by Shurong's life so far, he'd likely never amount to anything, while in the apocalypse world, Yin nudged Shurong awake to reveal that daybreak had come and it was time to move toward a base an hour away. They sprinted through an alley until Shurong was exhausted. Then she threw a stone at a wall to open a hidden door, called it their secret way that no one could guess, urged him to hurry to meet her sister, and upon reaching her, Yin exclaimed that she had brought penicillin, only to find her sister was also infected. Yin told her to take the medicine and promised she would feel better soon. Sheng wondered if the girl was truly her sister and what had become of her, so Yin explained that her sister had been attacked by a zombie herself while hunting mutant ones the day before to find their cores for making penicillin, only to be ambushed by the 17 faction. Her sister, worried about Yan's safety in the attack, asked if he had been hurt. Yin told her sister she was okay and that a friend who gave her penicillin had helped her survive the day before. So her sister thanked Shurang for saving their lives, but he just said that for two girls to last this long in such a place was already a miracle. Yin brought food for Shurong, who was starving from running all day, but as soon as he took a bite, he vomited, and Yin asked if it really tasted that bad since she thought it was fine. Shurong asked if that terrible food was their usual meal, and seeing him praise so dramatically, she wondered if it really was that bad. Though he denied it, claiming he only felt sorry for them, he told them to stop eating the trash and wait, only for Yin to question why he wouldn't eat it since she had gathered it from the sewers. So Shurong then pulled a treat from his pocket, opened the package, and fed a small candy to Yin. She flinched at first, but then her eyes went wide in amazement as she gasped at the rich milky scent and refreshing sweetness. Shurong worriedly asked if she was okay about her frozen reaction, explaining he had just given her a creamy white rabbit candy, which she eagerly thanked him for and immediately demanded more of as he reached out, only for her to grab his fingers along with the treat and bite off every single piece of candy from his hand while he shouted in surprise. Then she asked for more. Shurong handed her a few extra, and she rushed them to her sister, begging her to taste one. Her sister tried it, declared it amazing, and asked what it was, so Yin explained it was a white rabbit cream candy Shurong had given her that was simply delicious. Her sister was so thankful to be alive that she couldn't stop saying how grateful she felt. Yin told her to eat slowly because there was plenty left, and seeing the two sisters enjoy their food so happily moved Chang to tears, as their simple happiness made his own hard times feel even heavier. He pulled out a mountain of futuristic food, declaring that every single bite was theirs for the taking. Yin recognized a strange snack from her books and confirmed with Shurong that even the rare zombie cores she'd collected were being given away, which he accepted with gratitude after she reminded him that the medicine he'd given was far more valuable than all the food combined. After she promised to pay him back later, Shurong suddenly rushed to find a squat toilet, leaving Yin to notice the ancient, deep hole before reminding herself to get back to business. While sitting, he thought to himself, since no one is around, I might as well study what a zombie core really is, so he took one out, watched it dissolve in a light and warm his arm, saw a system pop up confirm his power-up and a jump in dimensional shifts, realized that power-ups were for shifting dimensions, decided to add more, and after several tries, 23 zombie cores rolled down the toilet, bringing his total dimensional shifts to 9. Feeling satisfied, he thought 9 was enough, but when he checked the bag, he went stone still. Where's my zombie core? I had a whole bag earlier, but now only 2 are left, and staring at the toilet in horror, he muttered, could it be? Shurong then emerged looking like a wandering soul, prompting Yin to ask what happened and why he looked so strange, to which Shurong mumbled, it was nothing, just a bit of constipation, before Yin announced it was time to eat. Shiren frowned, wondering why she was still eating that dirty sewer food when he had already given them plenty to eat. She told us that tossing away the precious food she'd gathered with so much hard work from the dirty sewers would be a waste. Shurong promised more food, but she looked puzzled since he'd already shared everything, and Shung suddenly realized he had secret storage in his system, but worried it would look odd to pull out extra supplies now. He also feared their current food would run out in just a couple of days, so he needed to get more soon. Yun then revealed she was a merchant who received deliveries every few days, including food, leaving Shurong stunned that she hadn't told him earlier until she admitted she simply hadn't trusted him. Shurong agreed to go out tomorrow to pick up the goods and bring back plenty of food, but stopped him and handed him a tiny handgun, telling him size didn't matter because it was a deadly assassin's weapon he should keep safe. She then asked if he planned to go alone or wanted her to come with him. He shook his head, promised he'd be okay, told her to wait for him, and then closed the door. Right then, her sister Rua woke up and called for Yun, who asked if she could walk, and upon Rua's nod that Shurong's medicine had worked wonders, Yun felt relieved and ordered her to secretly follow the suspicious stranger named Shurang to see where he was heading, explaining that his claims of being a merchant were likely a lie since his strange behavior didn't fit their world, and even though he had been generous, Yun insisted it was too soon to trust him, while Shiren confirmed that Rua had stopped following him before activating the dimensional shift and returning to the hospital. As soon as he opened his eyes, he knew he had to get out because he couldn't keep racking up hospital bills with no money to pay them. So he stepped outside and saw a car reflecting his hopeless situation after months of no job and almost no savings left, proving that his dream of getting rich was gone and he was just a broke loser. So he decided to collect supplies that would be priceless in the end times, but food and medicine were useless to him since the 17th faction would just rob and kill him if he tried to sell them. Determined to help the skilled but outnumbered Yun, Shurong bought a huge amount of food, paid the cashier 50 yuan, and made sure Yun had enough supplies to fight back against the zombies. He made sure everything he bought would fit in the system storage and packed extra clothes, but he was annoyed that he had to be so careful with his power after losing so much to a broken toilet. Just then Xiong returned with a massive stack of boxes, muttering that they had to move everything quickly before anyone got suspicious. But he suddenly froze and shouted that while the place was sealed off and zombie-free last time, it was now crawling with hordes. He stared at the growing crowd of zombies, wondering what had caused such a sudden jump. He screamed Yinu's name to get her to save him fast, but when he realized he couldn't break through the swarm, he thought about shifting again only to get lunged at from behind right before his bought packages scattered and spilled open. Shurong barely dodged the attack, left hanging from a rope as zombies crashed down below, only to panic when a shout for a dimensional shift triggered his passive skill, Quick Climb, instead. He desperately wanted the dimensional shift instead of this, but a panel suddenly appeared. With 7 skill points and a cost that doubled with every upgrade, he groaned at the ridiculous system before the Quick Climb skill instantly made him feel superhuman, allowing him to walk on wires like flat ground and pull off acrobatic moves that stunned the rooftop observer Rura, who finally realized her quiet friend was far from ordinary. So he quickly climbed to a tall building to spot a new path, away from the zombie horde, only to peep through a window and mock the disgusting swarm inside by yelling, "Want some fresh meat? Come on, you stinking zombies. Catch me if you can," he taunted, but the moment he laughed, the window smashed and he plummeted into the crowd, only to instantly twist a zombie's neck with his bare hands before gasping in terror. "What is this? Has my grip strength become so strong that I can snap a zombie's neck directly?" Another zombie lunged, and he killed it just as fast, but there were too many. Even his iron arm wasn't enough. He leapt out of the room and grabbed onto another window. Zombies tumbled out after him. Panting, he sighed in relief. That was close. One scratch and I'd be dead. In this world, you can't afford to show off too much. Then he realized he felt lighter. Confused, he checked behind him and his bag was gone. It had fallen into the zombies below. He cried out horrified, "Where's my bag? I climbed all the way here for nothing. And now I even lost my supplies." He gritted his teeth in frustration. He had spent all his remaining cash on this haul. "No way," he declared. "That's my startup capital for getting rich. I must get it back." Summoned one by one, they all fell until the last one hit the ground, and the silence was broken by Chang's weary boast that the zombies were easy to beat, until a sudden red shadow flashed right behind him. Or perhaps he was just making it all up in his head. Suddenly, a huge zombie lunged right at him, but when Chiron tried to run through the door, the impact threw him hard against the wall. Pain shot through his shoulders as the incredibly fast creature attacked, shocking him with its impossible agility, and he quickly realized that returning to the modern world would just waste his precious points. So with a muttered "no time," he chose to go all in, activating his system to spend every last zombie core and skill point, which instantly surged him to level 6 and unlocked 2 new abilities. With fearless focus and steady footing, he could finally see the creature's moves, But even at full speed, he couldn't shake the zombie that stuck to him relentlessly. His energy was gone so fast that slowing down even a moment would have let the monster snap his neck. So he pushed until he hit a solid concrete wall with nowhere left to go. And with no choice but to fight, he drove a huge wooden beam through the monster's shoulder all the way to its spine. The blow made it pause for a second, but then the zombie started moving again. And he screamed in anger and confusion that it wasn't dead, yet before finally killing it and pulling out its core, only to mutter in exhaustion that he had at least saved something from a mess. While Rua, watching him walk away alive, was shocked and realized that Xiong's fighting power was actually just as strong as hers. Xiong burst into the bunker, shouting that he'd bought cool stuff before Yun's sister rushed out to hug him, only for Shurong to ask who she was and why she didn't recognize him without his bandages, leading her to worry about his blood-covered appearance until he calmly explained it was from a zombie, prompting her to check him and discover he was unharmed despite looking filthy. After which she insisted he clean up quickly and even offered to bathe with him. Shurang froze and asked what she meant by them bathing together, but she just confirmed it while taking off her clothes to save water, and then Rua called out from the bathroom to hurry up, causing Shurong to hesitate and worry about his sister Yin. Only for Rua to say not to worry since they usually bathe together anyway, and just as Shurang decided to step inside and wondered if this was really right, Yin suddenly grabbed him by the ear and stopped him, accusing him of trying to see her sister naked. Shurong froze in panic and immediately made up an excuse about having scary visions since childhood, so bad that even with his ridiculous 8,000-degree nearsightedness, he couldn't see his own uncle standing right in front of him. He quickly changed the subject, stepped out of the bathroom with a proud grin, and shouted, "Look at all this cool stuff I bought. We have enough supplies to last days." He even mentioned bringing fruit for a healthy diet, and when Yin spotted the bananas, she looked completely surprised. Shurang offered the banana to her, encouraging her not to be shy before playfully pushing it in her mouth, where she took a lick and then a bite, shouting how sweet it tasted before noticing his expression and asking what was wrong, to which he quietly replied that he just needed to savor the moment a little longer. Rua whispered that with so much food, it all felt like a dream, while Yuan looked at Shurang to confirm he truly meant to give away such precious supplies. Chiron confirmed that he knew their worth, but promised to protect them if they did the same, while Yun reminded herself to keep her word despite remembering how she had once hidden away when Shurong was in danger. And as Shurong admitted his savings could only buy one more haul of supplies, he realized he needed to make money fast, while also remembering he was out of skill points and still needed a zombie core for dimensional shift points. Yin laughed at the idea that money mattered, calling it worthless scrap paper that couldn't even wipe your butt, so Chiron corrected her to say he meant gold treasures and shiny items he traded for supplies, which made Yun and Rua exchange surprised looks before Yin walked over, pulled a gold bar she'd been using to prop up the table, and asked Shurang if that was what he meant, pointing out there were 3 of them. Shurong stared at the bars and thought they were real gold, but Yin told him they were just useless blocks used as furniture weights. And after he took all of them to sleep happily on his imagined riches, the traitor Rua crept in with a knife while Yin stopped her and reminded her that Shurong had saved their lives, even as Rua bitterly recalled how their brother John betrayed them and left them as the only survivors. Rua admitted that without Yin stopping her in the bathroom, she would have gouged out Shurong's eyes already. Yet Yin insisted Shurong was far from being a traitor since he had given them their last box of precious penicillin despite its value exceeding their entire fortune. Just then Chiron woke up and asked what the sisters were whispering about, causing Rua to instantly claim she wanted to sleep with him, which made Shurong realize they had wasted so much time. And after Yin also expressed her desire to sleep with Chiron, Shurong agreed but insisted on sleeping in the middle, forcing Chiron to lie awkwardly between the 2 beauties while Rua tried to reach for her knife only to be kicked away by Yun, sending her crashing forward onto Shurong. When Shurong reminded Rua that they couldn't do anything with her sister there, Yin stubbornly declared she would protect Chiron by sleeping next to him, which he accepted for the sake of safety. And later, when Shurong nervously asked how she could know, and Rua explained that her sharp sense of smell had caught Chiron's scent from that building when he returned yesterday, which made her realize he must be one of the strongest survivors capable of escaping alive. Thinking fast, he made up a story about getting lost and escaping zombies thanks to his gun, while secretly wondering who would believe he had the primordial emperor system before Yin questioned his shaky aim and took over to teach him the proper grip, relaxed posture, and focus needed to hit the target, which immediately triggered a system alert that upgraded his long-range weapon mastery but left him with no zombie core power, forcing him to save his last 2 skill points to return home while she suggested they travel 2 kilometers to a nearby trading post where he could buy more cores. An old guard sat there with a gun pointed at them, and Yin greeted him casually with a tease, calling him old garlic and joking that he was still too scared of zombies. The old man laughed, saying he feared humans more, and then asked what they wanted to trade. Shurong asked the old man if he had any zombie cores, and after Shurong laid out several packets of spaghetti, the old man's eyes went wide at the rare early 21st century food, but Shurong quickly reminded him to remember the cores first, since people, not zombies, are the real danger. I've got 11 zombie cores, and while your meat is top tier and usually buys 4 cores per can, here I'm trading 3 cans for just 1, leaving me 1 core short that I'll make up next time. Well, Chiron said no. He told the old man to keep the missing core and promised another can as a bonus, but with one request. The old man raised an eyebrow and asked what it was, so Shurong showed him a piece of gold and asked if he recognized it. And after the old man said it didn't look like gold at all, Shurong clapped his hands and praised his sharp eye before offering the extra cans as a commission and asking him to help find more of that rare metal in exchange for food. After powering up his system with zombie cores and gaining 4 points, Chiron instantly upgraded his long-range weapon mastery 4 times, fired his loaded gun to hit every target, declared himself a true sharpshooter, received the new Doom Bullet effect, and learned he could shout Doom Bullet Fire once per day for free to unleash it. Shurong felt humiliated and asked if the system was joking or thinking he was a superhero, but the system claimed it was just following human custom by yelling move names. He snapped back that it hadn't helped him earlier when he nearly died, so after making sure no one was watching, he bravely raised his gun and shouted Doom Bullet Fire before pulling the trigger, causing his sisters to stare in awe as the bullet flew across the distance and hit the opposite building, leaving Shurong with a frown. Why didn't anything happen? Isn't this just a normal bullet? He grumbled, deciding he needed to study its effects more, while the confused girls quietly turned around to get back to work, and Yun suggested they put everything aside for now to clear out a room for Shurong. Shurong wondered if she could really carry all those supplies. She laughed it off and said, "What? This isn't even anything to worry about. This weight is child's play for us evolvers," Shurong repeated with intrigue, and Young confirmed that ordinary survivors couldn't compare to them, as very few managed to evolve successfully. Shurong asked if there were requirements to become one, and Yin explained the 3 methods. The rare early outbreak method of surviving the RV virus without turning into a zombie, the dangerous method of consuming a zombie core with a success rate under 10%, or taking an evolution potion from major organizations. Shurong's eyes lit up at the news, and Yun offered to take him to the Earth Construction Alliance's stronghold to trade resources for a potion. So they agreed to go the next day, only for Shurong to wonder later why Rua wasn't coming along despite her recent glare, which Yin dismissed as being due to her eye condition. They reached the edge of our base and found it packed with so many zombies that Yin said it was time for a big cleanup. While back at the shooting range, Rua fumed about Chiron and how Yin wouldn't let her kill him before the building in front of her suddenly crashed down. She was shocked as a lone zombie stumbled through the quiet streets only to vanish with a dagger in its skull. Delivered by Chiron and Yun, who warned her not to waste bullets before revealing a hidden car in a secret garage and telling her to drive 2.5 hours down the highway to reach the safe zone. As they raced away with zombies hot on their tail, Shurong pointed out the horde, but Yun stayed calm, saying they'd shake them off soon, before she reminded Shang that becoming an evolver was risky since even the best potion could be deadly. Though he wasn't sure if he'd drink it, he insisted on buying it first, comparing the Earth Construction Alliance to a guild and trusting they wouldn't harm him since they were outnumbered. So he planned to share only a little information at first to build trust until a zombie suddenly smashed against his window and startled Yen. She yelled that they were red zombies, panicked by how fast they showed up, and begged Shurong to shut the window while he fired at them. But the zombies dodged easily and even punched through the roof to grab him. So he cursed himself for missing his usual perfect shots until Yen explained that their red skin made them immune to normal bullets, causing her to climb out of the moving car to fight them off with her blade, only to get thrown onto the road as they closed in, just as she was about to be attacked when someone suddenly shouted at them to leave her bodyguard alone, leaving her staring in shock at how he managed to kill such tough foes. He cleared them out in a split second, panting as he admitted it had been close. After Yin fell from the car, he rushed in to blast the zombies in the head with his gun, and even taunted the red one, saying, "You can dodge bullets, huh? I'll blast your brains out. No way you're dodging that." Yin was stunned by this Chiron's power, thinking wiping out 6 red zombies in such a short time was already as strong as a first-tier evolver, but as Chiron happily collected the cores, declaring, "Jackpot, all zombie cores. Time to power up again," an ache spread through his body, making him realize his muscles couldn't handle those high-speed moves for long. So he sighed and thought he needed to hit the gym more before asking Yin where the zombie cores had gone, only for Yin to urgently tell him to stop looking and check around because they were surrounded by a fresh wave of zombies. "Let's go. Get in and drive away," they shouted as they sprinted toward the car. Zombies swarmed the car like a living tide, so Yin slammed on the gas, crushing them under the tires until the engine finally gave out under their weight, leaving them with only 10 bullets and one special doom bullet as their last hope, while Shurang quickly traded away his spare skill points to buy 7 more of those powerful shots, saving his final points just in case they needed to escape back to the real world. If he had moved away now, she would have surely died since she couldn't escape on her own. So Shur told her the car was strong enough to keep the zombies out for a bit, but Yin scolded him for wasting all their bullets and insisted they needed to save at least one for herself, a final shot to stop being eaten alive in a world where death was cheap. Yet when Xiang fired all 8 bullets with no effect, the rain started pouring, making the rotting zombie flesh swell with a terrible stench that made her gag, and Yin warned that if the heavy rain continued, the zombies would eventually look almost human again before swelling up even more. They drank up every drop until their skins stretched to the breaking point and finally popped. But instead of dying, they just look even more grotesque. So Yin stopped a rant about the terrible smell and suddenly pointed outside, shouting that the zombies had changed back into human forms, which made Shurang stare in shock at a swollen creature that looked roughly his age and wonder if that was how she used to look before everything ended. Then a massive boom shook the air, sending all the zombies collapsing to the ground, where Shur gasped in shock that lightning had struck them down, and Yin quickly urged everyone to clear the pile of dead bodies so they could drive through. Shur stared at the terrible mess and cried out in shock that it was so huge and awful, then let out a heavy sigh of relief to say they had actually survived, and as their car finally reached a shelter, a soldier on the wall shouted to the gatekeeper that a vehicle was coming, only to find the gatekeeper already asleep in bed with 2 girls until someone rushed in to wake him up, at which point the groggy gatekeeper asked why anyone was arriving so early and told the guard to speak to the newcomers, who then approached the car to demand that everyone step out and ask where they were from and if they were looking for safety. But Shuren quickly explained that they were just traders there to swap goods. So the gatekeeper ordered them to bring their items forward for inspection, and a soldier stepped up to show one food item while another opened its package. Yuan immediately protested that they hadn't traded yet, but Shurung quickly stepped in to reassure the gatekeeper that trying the quality was a good idea. So the gatekeeper smelled the aroma, agreed the stuff was excellent, took a bite, and kept eating until the whole can was empty, leading Yin to mutter that it's all gone while the gatekeeper lamented that he didn't get to savor it, causing Shur to immediately hand him 4 more cans with no worries. Yin whispered urgently to Shur about how much they could normally trade for 8 cans, while the now full Brother Lo declared, "Not bad. After I've had my share, you can have the rest." The gatekeeper told his men, but as soon as he finished speaking, they grabbed the empty cans and started fighting over them while he wiped his mouth and promised to report the girl's theft to the Lord before leading Shuang and Yin into the refugee shelter, where they saw a man violently beating a crying girl who begged for mercy against the man's claim that stealing precious medicine was a death sentence. "You little brat, come with me to the justice office where the head will decide your fate." But the guard told us the city lord was busy and would only meet us tomorrow. So we rested upstairs until the next morning when an anxious grandmother wandered the streets asking if anyone had seen her granddaughter, only to be rudely shoved aside by a man rushing to a mine. Yet she kept pleading for help, describing a girl with a small braid in her brown hair who hadn't returned since last night, and Yun whispered that this must be the same girl from yesterday. So the guard agreed to notify her, while Yin gently told the grandmother that her granddaughter had been taken to the justice office yesterday for stealing medicine, and urged her to go there herself, causing the old lady's face to crumple in grief as she blamed herself and begged to be arrested instead since her granddaughter only stole the medicine to help her. But the guard cut her off, saying it was almost time to meet the Lord and hurried, "Everyone who tries it loves it, my lord. You should give it a go," he said, nodding to the guard for the packets, and then politely offering them with a smile. The city lord opened a can and slurped it down in one gulp, then greedily grabbed the rest and devoured them all. "This is delicious," he said. "A million times better than the beast meat I eat. How many more of these do you have? I want them all. I'll trade anything for them." Shur beamed. "Fantastic, Lord. You truly know quality." So the city lord asked what you'd like to trade for. Xiang said plainly that they had zombie cores, evolution potions, and some gold, which left Chu Wang confused until the guard explained what the gold was, prompting Chuang to laugh. "Ah, that useless thing. Sure, we can trade since we have plenty of gold." So the city lord ordered the guards to take Xiang downstairs to tally supplies and hand over whatever he wants. A guard acknowledged the order, but just then Xiang interrupted to say he had another request, making the city lord raise an eyebrow and ask, "What request?" Xiang told us a girl was arrested for stealing medicine, so he promised to pay triple the cost and begged the city lord to let her go. Chuang asked if it was true. The guard confirmed it and said the thief was already taken away by Chief Justice Qi, and the city lord just shrugged. Xiang promised to pay triple the cost, so the city would lose nothing, and he said his guards would take Xiang to the justice office after the raid to set the girl free. Xiang thanked the guard and took his massive haul of gold, zombie cores, and potions, then hurried to think about how much fortune his gold could bring back home, while remembering the release order he needed to rescue Shia, only to find the justice office packed with a terrified crowd as another man stepped up to warn them that stealing from the city meant death, especially since the body of Shia hung dead above them, while the grandmother cried out below, and Chiron crushed his release order in his fist. He growled, "Are you kidding me? That scoundrel, what does he think a person's life is worth?" She took medicine only to help her family, but Chief Justice Qi stepped up, recognized Chang as the new merchant, and without warning, grabbed his wrist and twisted it painfully. A loud crack echoed as Xiong's bones shattered, but Chief Justice Qi spared him because he came from a distant city. This time, the guard rushed forward to explain that Xiong was a new merchant and asked the Chief Justice to forgive any errors, and then Chief Justice Qi asked if Xia had come along with him for the trade. After swallowing hard, Xiong asked what had happened, and Chief Justice Kichi explained that Shirao was caught trying to break into the prison, looking furious about the girl's execution, leaving him unsure whether to kill her or let her live until the city lord decided he wanted their meat. Reaching level 7, Shuang instantly healed his broken hand with skill points, sparking wild rumors that he was strong enough to capture Shirao or even kill the Chief Justice, though he wisely decided to use his new speed to snatch Shirao and escape before anyone realized the danger. He burst into action with his super speed, zoomed past the two guards holding Shirao, darted right in front of Chief Justice Qi, and scaled the building in a flash before shouting, "I'm making a grand escape in one go," as he noticed his climbing power lasting much longer than before, while Shirao yelled up from below not to worry about her and insisted they escape first. After running far enough, Shuang finally stopped and panted, "I'm maxed out. At this distance, they can't catch us," and that was close. Shirao apologized for dragging him into the mess, but Shuang reassured her it was his fault for being there and not acting sooner, while Shirao blamed her own weakness for not holding off the guards longer. Shuang realized how foolish he'd been to think his system could make him a master, only to be brutally knocked down and choked by Chief Justice Qi, while his friend Shirao watched in horror as the injured Shuang drank a dangerous potion, laughed through the agony, and seemingly transformed before the stunned onlookers. Watching a dying bug fight its last breath, Shuang felt both furious and helpless, his eyes turning blood red as painful memories flooded back. A teacher scolding him for fighting, a father berating him for being undisciplined, and the bitter truth that he was born but never raised right. Shuang's manager told him to quit because he kept stopping female staff from drinking with customers, but then a brave Shuang stepped in to stop a man harassing a woman, got beaten up badly, and ended up living in her apartment where she fed him, and he dreamed of becoming a pastry chef until he suddenly snapped back to reality to see Chief Justice Qi dragging Shirao away, not to kill her, but to protect the city lord's suppliers. "Your face is pretty, but if you don't behave, I'll cut your tendons and bring you to the city lord as a toy," Shuang sneered before grabbing Chief Justice Qi's limbs and standing tall. "You're not leaving," he growled, dragging Qi in and pounding him with a series of fierce punches that cracked the ground beneath them until Qi's face was a bloody mess. As Shirao gasped in horror, thinking Shuang was finally dead, the evolved warrior wiped blood from his chin and declared, "I'm not that easy to kill." But right then, Chief Justice Qi roared and drove his hand straight through Shuang's chest, causing Shirao to scream while Shuang calmly replied, "Well done," proving his evolution had worked even as he faced death. Despite being impaled, Chief Justice Qi scoffed, claiming Shuang was only a level 1 evolver and doubting if such power could defeat him. But Shuang gritted his teeth. This golden abyssal physique was a power reserved only for the level 10 Almer elite, a revelation that left him stunned, while Chief Justice Kit sprinted frantically toward the speed demand gateway, terrified after witnessing Shuang wield such a rare ability, only for Shirao to suddenly point and blast him with a deadly attack that erased him instantly as the city lord felt the unnatural surge of power approaching from 10 miles away and ordered his aide to investigate the strange disturbance near Faction 17. Everyone was shocked by the massive power Shuang unleashed, but Xiao rushed to keep him conscious and promised to fix him, only to panic when she found his wound bleeding uncontrollably until Shuang's own body miraculously stopped the flow, prompting Xiao to beg him to hold on while they headed for a doctor just as the city lord arrived, confused to see such a powerful fighter near his home and hoping he hadn't offended them. While miles away, a metal gate shuddered from a hard blow and a woman opened it to someone impatiently kicking it open and yelling for her. She spotted her instantly, screamed Xiao's name, and ordered her to pay for the broken door, but Xiao just waved the complaint aside and rushed her to help save Shuang. The doctor stared in confusion at Shuang's strange vital signs, then found a patch of metal inside his wounds that had somehow healed him in a way he'd never seen before. Shirao worriedly asked if Shuang was safe, but the doctor warned that the strange symptoms made a guarantee impossible, so the best plan was to keep Shuang there for a few days to watch closely. While over in Group 17, the leader shocked his team into asking if he was serious about having them punch him, reminding them of all the times he had bullied them and insisting they beat him up to let off some steam since he wouldn't hold a grudge against them. They agreed, and almost instantly, a storm of punches fell on him, making the boss curse in shock at how hard they hit while silently vowing to prove his authority later, only to walk straight into a doctor's office and claim another injury, earning a weary sigh from the doctor, who noted this was already his third visit that month, to which the man simply replied that his job made getting hurt unavoidable. Right then, Xiao stumbled out of the next room and stopped dead in her tracks, recognizing that same man who had threatened and attacked them before. She wondered why someone like him was here, fearing that if he found their secret clinic, he would send his men to surround it. So she rushed to escape just as the doctor guided them into the exam room, where she was waking up, only for the leader to storm in with a loaded gun, demand their death for killing his brothers, and threaten to skin them alive, until the doctor firmly stood between them and declared that these were his patients who must not be harmed. Shirao watched with worried eyes while Shuang groaned awake to joke about the doctor, only to reveal that she had avoided fighting her rival because a past battle had badly injured her inside. Shuang vowed to face the enemies on his own and turned down Zhao's offer to help, insisting she stay behind to heal while he promised to take them all down himself, even as the leader and his men waited outside. One of the men urged Brother Song to rush inside and kill the two, but Song refused, reminding them of his promise to the doctor and ordering them to stay put. Another then pointed out that the resource station said the doctor would be out buying medicine in the afternoon, suggesting they use that moment to enter the clinic and kill Shuang and Shirao before claiming the pair had run off on their own, a plan Song agreed to as he ordered everyone to grab their weapons, kill the man, and capture the girl alive, though another member questioned why Brother Song was still messing around after Dr. Shia's warning, to which Song dismissed the concern and said keeping her unaware was fine, just as the door opened and Shuang walked out standing before all the men, declaring there was no need for them to come inside since he had come out himself, which made the members curse in shock at his boldness before Song ordered his men to attack and chop him into pieces. Shuang unleashed his power to scan his opponents. Most of them were just level 1 evolvers, with only Song reaching level 3, but Shuang quickly calculated he had a 90% chance of winning. So in the blink of an eye, he unleashed his power and knocked everyone out instantly. Only Song remained standing due to his level 3 strength. Song stared in disbelief, asking how Shuang had powered up so fast. The last time he had seen him, Shuang was just a weak, ordinary human. Shuang replied that if he had used actual weapons, all of them would have been dead in those few seconds. However, since Song had held back yesterday, Shuang offered him another chance. Kneel down, bark like a dog, and call him Grandpa. Only then, Shuang said, "Mighty, let him go." The scene then shifted as Shuang visited the merchant he had first traded with. The merchant presented a selection of goods and said this was all he could gather for now, asking Shuang to check if it matched what he wanted. Shuang handed him food and confirmed that this was exactly the gold he needed, offering Ken in exchange. The merchant thanked him and Shuang told him to keep helping him find gold, promising that he would always receive Ken for his efforts. The merchant, confused, wondered why Shuang needed gold, thinking that the common currency these days should be zombie corpses. Shuang then acquired a total of 20 kilograms of